Hello there. Tonight we are going to continue our research about the Bible, and this time we go to the Old Testament part of the Bible. I've got my Bible in front of me, and we are going to see what we can read. We start with the first book of the Old Testament, which is the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 1. We can read like this, verse 1. In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. So here there is one point, and the Bible clearly here says, first God created the earth, and later on he created the sun, and said, "Let there be light," which is against the simple scientific fact that says, first of all, stars and the sun came into existence, and after that the planets and the earth, in fact, were created. Well, in any case, we continue our reading. Verse 6 says, "And God said, Let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water. So God made the vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above it. And it was so. God called the vault sky, and there was evening, and there was morning, the second day." It's getting more interesting here. Here in verse 8 we can see that God created the sky, and he said God called the vault sky. But in verse 3 we read that God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So in verse 3 we understand that God created the light and created the sun, but without creating the sky, because it is in verse 7 that says, "So God made the vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above it, and it was so. God called the vault sky." So there was sun without sky. The sun was created without the creation of sky. It's very interesting. So if there was no sky, where was the sun? So in fact, as it says clearly in the Bible, that sky was made much later than creating the sun, which was in verse 3. If there had been no sky, where had God put the sun to shine on the earth? And how could we imagine creation of the sun without the creation of a sky? Well, so ambiguous, and it doesn't make sense to me, in fact. But we continue our reading. Verse 9 says, "And God said, Let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let dry land appear. And it was so. God called the dry ground land, and the gathered water he called seas. And God saw that it was good." So it says God saw that it was good. So we understand, according to this statement, God had no idea that it would be good or not good before creating it. It's more like a human mindset to me rather than God's mindset, because to me God is all knowledgeable of everything, and it is so far from him to say after creating something God saw that it was good. So he had a doubt if it was going to be good or no. Well, what can I say? Anyway, in verse 11, then God said, "Let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds." And it was so. The land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the third day. Again, we have this statement, God saw that it was good, which means before this, God had no idea if it would be good or not good. In verse 14, it is written, "And God said, Let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years. And let them be lights in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth." And it was so. God made two great lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars. God set them in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the fourth day. So it's getting more and more interesting here. After verse 3, in which God said, "Let there be light," and there was light, and he created the sun, now we understand that there was no sun at all. So, because here in verse 16 we read, "God made two great lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night." So the sun is created again. Well, so bizarre. How can it be? Two times the sun was created. And apart from this, there is another point here. It says two lights were created. It says God made two great lights, the sun and the moon. Of course, the sun is a fixed light, everybody knows, but the point is that the moon doesn't have any light. It means it doesn't produce any light. Everybody knows that the moon gets its light from the sun, and the kind of light that some of the nights we see in the sky from the moon, in fact, is the reflection of the light from the sun. That we can see some of the nights, not all of the nights. So that is another scientific error here, that the writer of this, the writer of these texts, was not aware of science at all, and according to what they saw, they took it for granted. They thought that the moon also produced light, and didn't know that it's only the reflection of the light from the sun. So this cannot be acceptable to me from God, because God is full of knowledge and God is beyond the knowledge. In fact, he cannot make such a mistake. Moreover, there is one more point here, which is so important. In fact, how on earth, without a complete planetary system and without the creation of stars and their planets, which makes the measurement of days and night possible by the rotation of planets around their suns, how could it be possible to claim that God created all of these systems in 6 days, while the measurement of days and nights are only possible after the completion of the whole solar system? How was the first day possible without such a system? How could we have the second day? How could we have the third day to be measured without a complete system within which there is a rotation of planets, the rotation of planet Earth? And we know that this kind of rotation makes it possible to measure day and night and to measure 24 hours. So if the sun was not yet created and the moon was not yet created, how could we have the first day, the second day, and the third day without having a complete system and without the rotation of the Earth to make 24 hours possible? As we can see, it is in the fourth day that the sun and the moon were created. So where does this measurement come from? Without the solar system and without the rotation of the Earth to measure the first day, second day, third day, and so forth.